Hi, everybody. It's Susan again, and today it's a very special day because Pluto is stationing direct just a few hours after I'm making this little video. So that will be 2 a.m. in, let me just double check that, 2:10 a.m. in Universal Time. So that means it's 8:10 p.m. New York City time, for example, Eastern Time. And you can do the math if you're already going to move into the 11th of October, for example, for the Asian countries and for Australasia in general. So I'm just wanting to draw your attention to what we've had with this Pluto transit. Just this last time that Pluto will be transiting these degree points, it went back to 2753, so nearly 28 degrees of Capricorn. So anybody who has degree points in Capricorn or any of the cardinal signs, so that's Aries and Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, you'll be feeling this really impactfully, very, very intensively. But if you have planets or points around the 24, 25 degree point, this will be the last time that you're actually going to be feeling this impact of Pluto so strongly. So celebrate. And those of us with 29 degrees of Capricorn, I've got 29 degrees of Cancer rising and my ascendant in Capricorn, 29 degrees. So those of us will continue the journey with Pluto in Capricorn into the autumn of next year. So we're all collectively experiencing this for the last time. We will never experience this again because Pluto moves so slowly. So in the 27th degree, 28 degrees, moving through the 29th degree and then moving out of Capricorn altogether in January. So this is quite significant because we're really at the end of an era, and when planets, especially slow-moving planets, go towards the end of a sign or enter the sign, so the ingress and egress of a planet, it's intense. It's very, very noticeable. I'd say we're all pretty much noticing what's going on here around the world. It's a very strong disruption of a pattern of something that's been very familiar to us over a very long period of time. Lots of traditions, lots of assumptions around rulerships, around leaderships, around governance, around big institutions, for example. And it just so happens that the United States has their Pluto at about 27.5 degrees of Capricorn. And so that Pluto return already happened at the beginning of 2023 for the last time. It was a 3 exact hits. But the United States progressed Pluto is at 29 degrees. And so the US is going to continue to experience by progression the impact of Pluto going through Capricorn through 2024. And I think that is when we're going to finally see this really big shift in terms of government, in terms of how people relate to their government and authorities in the United States. And of course, that affects all of us. I'm just pulling up the United States here because it's honestly, it's exhausting. It's a lot of work to do mundane astrology and have to keep on top of all different countries' charts and different things going on around the world. I really do appreciate your comments about, asking what can be done about this particular chart or that particular chart. Could I do a video? My priority is my clients. My priority is individuals. I feel like that's where the impact and the growth is more important. And so I try and impart some things that can be useful to you personally when we do these videos. But I just simply don't have the time or the energy or frankly, the psychological and emotional bandwidth to deal with the crisis after crisis that we're going through here. But I will continue as much as I can to do videos of different countries when it's appropriate. So we will have Pluto going back into Capricorn, just the 29th degree, and the actual degree point that it gets back to is 29:38. So 29 degrees and 38 arc minutes of a degree of Capricorn. And we're going to see that from the 1st of September of 2024 until November 19th. And Pluto is going to station direct on October 11th at that degree point. So backs into Capricorn from 0 degrees, obviously, of Aquarius, where it's going to be from January through till the 1st of September in 2024. And then on the 11th of October, it's going to station direct, and then it exits Capricorn from a tropical point of view for our lifetimes. We will never see this again at 29 degrees and 38 minutes, leaving finally on the 19th of November. So some of you will notice that that is going to be impacting the US elections, and keeping in mind that that is the degree point of the progressed Pluto in the United States Sibley chart. I think these elections are going to be game changers for the way the United States is run. Let's say it that way. I'll bring more insights into that as 2024 unfolds. I'm just checking my notes here. So I wanted to, for you individually, I wanted you to reflect on, to make the most out of Pluto, to make the most out of the transformational capacities that Pluto brings, and the capacity for us to really grow. We only apparently grow through pain as human beings. We don't tend to do it with ease. That's our failing. And so I would like you to go back to the very beginning of 2008. In fact, you could go back to December 2007, because, or even autumn and winter 2007, going into 2008, that's when Pluto moved into Capricorn, but we will have for sure felt that. And especially so if you've got late degrees of Sagittarius or early degrees of Capricorn in your natal chart. So questions: how have you transformed? What have you learned? What fears have you overcome? There has been an enormous amount of growth in 15 years. Some of you will be maybe on the young side, and it won't really make sense to you because some of the growth is going to be unconscious. But those who are already older and with a longer retrospective on life, you'll be able to really pinpoint areas of growth and how you've changed, and look where Pluto has been. And I'll go sign by sign really quickly to see where it's been and what we're looking for. Overcoming fears is a big Pluto energy. It's really about understanding what we're afraid of is usually unreal, and it's all about truth. It's all about discovering the truth. And so look at what you have overcome in terms of fears, what truths you've understood about yourself, what you've discovered, and what you've integrated, most importantly, because hopefully in these 15 years you've also been trying to fit that into your life and not being bounced around by it all. And then really try to get clear on these important lessons so you can acknowledge your growth, so you can recognize, wow, I was like that back then. I was like this in 2008, and now I'm like this. And that allows you to draw on that wisdom and your capacity to transform yourself and to move into new areas of growth in your life, so that you bring that forward with you as Pluto moves into Aquarius and into the subsequent house of your chart. So you're going to be going through a major change in another area of your life, but you're growing. The growth that you've done for the last 15 years is going to serve you really well as you go into this. So we now have just these scant few months. We've got October, November, December, and January now, where Pluto is still in this sign. So use this time and dig deep into your understanding of how you've grown, what you've learned, what you've overcome, what perhaps at first appeared to be a catastrophe or something that really shook you out of your sense of self or your sense of security or your sense of life, and turned out to be a source of real growth and strength for you. So always looking in that direction of how did I grow? How did I learn? Don't stay with the pain. It's not helpful. That brings out the worst of Pluto. That brings out the psychosis. It brings out the paranoia. It brings out the fears and the psychological damage. So you need to bring out the lessons. How did I How did I grow through this situation? And there will be growth, and there will absolutely be lessons that you've learned. I also just want to frame this in the context of what we're experiencing now. I regret that I went on Instagram today, and it's just a cesspool there. And paradoxically, this is today, as I'm speaking, it's the 10th of October, and this is the day that Pluto turns stations direct. And this is World Mental Health Day. But I honestly, the degree of insanity on social media is very disturbing, and we are provoking that in each other. So I wanted to affirm a prayer that you can reflect on, that many of you will already know. It's a Christian prayer, but it's very ecumenical. It's the prayer of St. Francis, and St. Francis himself wouldn't have really subscribed to much of the Christian church. He was a bit of an outsider, a bit of a renegade, in fact. Started his own way of living and working through the church. Even though he's solidly ensconced in the Christian tradition. Many of you know this poem. I'm going to read it slowly so you can absorb it. And I'd love you to, if you'd like, to feel that in your heart. Close your eyes, bring your energy down into your heart, and feel your heart resonating with your capacity to initiate peace, your capacity to feel peace, your capacity to generate peace. So this is the first prayer, and then I'm going to read you the daily prayer of St. Francis, and I'll put them in the comments and in the notes below the video, so you can copy that and recite that if that appeals to you, if that feels like some solace. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. The prayer of St. Francis is asking us to transform what is difficult, to convert that into something that we can then share, that we can then express, that we can then live through. And this is the highest message of Pluto. It's the highest message of the capacity for our psyche, our heart, our minds to transform. This is a Plutonian message. Now, every day you can recite this very gentle poem, a very gentle prayer, rather, of St. Francis, which is, Lord, help me live this day quietly, easily, to lean upon your great strength, trustfully, restfully, to wait for the unfolding of your will, patiently, serenely, to meet others peacefully, joyously. So reflect on those if that speaks to you. And from now, I'm going to show you, I'll just share my screen here. And I'm just going to show you the location of Pluto. I've stripped it all back, only Pluto and Saturn, because Saturn is ruling Pluto at the moment. And Pluto has been in Capricorn for these 15 years. So in fact, Saturn has ruled Pluto for 4 of those 15 years. Now it's a little bit more than 15 years. So let's call it an eternity. So I'm just pointing out here that this is the time 2 a.m., 2:10 a.m. at Universal Time, Greenwich Mean Time, and that Pluto is stationing at the 27-degree point, 2753. So that's very nearly 28 degrees, but it moves so slowly that we don't get to the 28th degree until November. So we got time with this degree point. So you can let that sit with you, explore your chart and the degree points that this might be affecting. All the way through this transit of Pluto, it's going to be moving towards Aquarius now. And so if you have early Aquarius, 1, 2, 3 degrees of Aquarius, that's building up to a conjunction by January. Certainly the 2 degrees is the most intense. I think you'll feel it within 2 degrees very intensively. 3 degrees, you're probably just getting an inkling of things to come. You want really tight orbs with slow moving planets. So I'm just going to move this around here We're going to start with Aries just for the sake of simplicity. And we're going to look sign by sign at where Pluto has been for 15 years, where your growth has been, and what it is that you can reflect on, and how Saturn can help you with that reflection right now, because Saturn is also pulling in some energy from other parts of the chart. So for Aries, Aries sun and moon and ascendant sign, or if you have an Aries stellium, definitely check that out as well. Stellium does not include outer planets in my books. A stellium is inner planets. You can have maybe one or two outer planets, but inner planets and important points. But you can look for all of those things. If it's in Aries, that will be Pluto in your 10th house. So your role in society has changed dramatically. Your ability to deal with the worldly events of your life has changed dramatically. You've grown in confidence and power since 2008. You will have grown also in terms of how you use power, how you wield power, how you work with people collectively, perhaps in your occupation, if you're working, if you're not, how you work with people out in the world in general, how you show up in the world. And so there's been an energy of transformation that you have both generated and shared with people, but also that you have applied to yourself. And so both are true. And as you transformed yourself through Pluto in the 10th house, you were able to work with people in your community, in your work environment, in the world around you, and transform them through what you've learned. Now, Saturn is in the 12th house, and you will draw immense strength from things that you understand about what holds you back. It could be behaviors that are not helpful or supportive, addictions potentially. It can be some hidden psychological concerns or feelings or fears that you might have. Feeling disconnected from God or spirit or the universe or source or whatever you want to call that. If you really work on that using Saturn and the energy of Saturn, which is, by the way, Saturn will be stationing direct on the 4th of November. So that's going to contribute to this Plutonian energy here in the 10th. That is going to help you immensely to grow. So using that spiritual connection to help you grow. Now, on a worldly level, this could also be through people that you know from foreign lands, from faraway lands, from faraway places, travel, working with foreigners, working with people in different areas. And so that also can be that quality of Saturn in the 12th, bringing that energy into the 10th house, certainly only since March in this case. But it's helping you now. So trying to make sense of this period of time, trying to make sense of the intensity of Pluto at the end degrees of Capricorn, you will benefit a lot from working with that Saturn. Right, let's see who's next. So we've got Taurus, Taurus sun, moon, and rising, or stellium. And here you've had Pluto changing your beliefs, changing your sense of what your life purpose is. And that has been for 15 years, 16 years of an exploration of what it means to be you, what it means to connect with spirit, with God. Ninth house, I also like to call the road to God. It's the house of Dharma and having a sense of your purpose, what it is that you're truly here for. Connecting to religion, connecting to spirit, connecting to higher education. And all of these things have transformed you immensely since 2008. For many Taurians, this will also reconnect you or change the connection or deepen the connection with father figures, figures of importance. That can be religious figures, or it can be your actual father, the ninth house representing the father. And currently, Saturn is supporting that and helping you to grow in the 11th house, really changing your dreams, changing your sense of what the future holds for you, what your aims and goals are for the future, potentially also around money that you earn. So Pluto will be moving into the 10th house of your career. Check your Aries friends and see what that was like for them. And that will, of course, it will affect your income. It will affect the way that you earn a living. And so with Saturn in the 11th, you need to get serious about how you earn money, Perhaps getting serious also about the people that you spend time with. Who's got your back? Who's your sangha? Who's the people in your life? And are they supporting your new vision for life? Are they supporting this new philosophy? And if not, this will be a period of time in these next few months where it becomes really clear what needs to change. So good luck with that, Taurus. So we'll have a look now at Gemini, and that has had Pluto going through the 8th house, which will have brought in immense change in terms of your inner fears and psychological workings, potentially family trauma, issues around experiences within your family or of the family, coming potentially from other generations, parents' generation or higher. And you've been working through these things. This is also the house of intimacy. So you may have had opportunities to really develop your way of connecting with people. That can be sexual intimacy. It can also be just emotional intimacy, being comfortable, being close. Gemini, sun, moon, rising, lots of Gemini energy in a chart can often feel a little superficial and can feel like it's easier to keep things light and breezy and chatty and funny, and you are all of those things. And yet we have these emotional needs, and Pluto has been pulling a lot of that depth out of you in the last 15, 16 years. The 8th house is the house of marriage as well, and shared resources. It's the house of transformation, personal transformation in all different ways. And so all of these areas of your life will have been affected really strongly in the last period of time while Pluto's been going through there. And you will have had an opportunity to re-examine issues of partnership, whether that be through marriage or through business partnership and so on. And that can be for a growth or for a letting go, because Pluto will just transform. It doesn't tell you in advance what that's going to be like. Saturn in the 10th house is showing you how you can take responsibility in your society, in your firm, in your business, in your vocation, or in your just the way that you relate socially, taking on a leadership role or taking on a role of more gravitas, more responsibility. So the depth that you get from Pluto, you're pulling into the 10th house with that Saturn. Now we've got a few months where you can really reflect on this and see, how is that going to transform for me? Because Pluto is going to go into the 9th house and potentially have you reconsider your sense of purpose here. And so while you're working on understanding the last 15 years, start to think forward in terms of, well, how have I also shifted my aims and my purposes in life, my sense of why I'm here? And that will be your homework for the next 20 years. So good luck with that, Gemini, and we'll move on to Cancer. So Cancer, you have had Pluto in the house of relationships and partnerships, and that has been since the beginning of 2008. If you're sun, moon, or rising, or a Cancer stellium, this will apply to you. And that is opposing yourself. So you have had this as an opposition. It's you're one of the cardinal signs. And so therefore it's been incredibly impactful for you. It has changed every area of your life, but most especially relationships. The way you show up in relationships, with whom you show up, the quality of your relationships. Very likely there has been a really strong consideration of the integrity around relationships and a letting go of things that felt frivolous or no longer supportive or no longer aligned with who you were. You may have encountered difficulties in relationships through people who have been manipulative or abusive and have showed you where you give away too much of yourself or too much of your power. And at this point, after so many years, it's time to get the memo. So you now have maximum 1 year, depending on if you've got late degree Cancer activated. This is the time now to really stand up and recognize where you give away too much of yourself. You might accommodate too much, or you might disappear too much when things get difficult, and it's not going to help you. There's no disappearing from Pluto. It will come and find you. So it's a great opportunity for you also to look back on how you may have explored business relationships. 7th house is the house of business. especially through partnerships and through your own work with clients. And how has that transformed you, and how have you transformed that aspect of your life over the last 15 years? Now Saturn is in the ninth house, and that's really establishing a sense of your purpose. You're getting serious now with a sense of, what do I believe? What do I have faith in? What is my purpose? What do I want to share with people? This can be a house of education and teaching, and equally of learning and trying to discover something on your own. So as Pluto is moving into the eighth house, where you're going to start digging deep into your spiritual, psychological, emotional nature, and into intimacy and areas of shared resources, then Saturn is going to help you pull in some of the higher mindedness that's going to take it up a notch. It's going to help you start off with a good solid foundation that's about morality, doing the right thing for you, particularly in terms of what you want for your life. So use these next few months to really look back, pat yourself on the back, because you've been through a lot. I have a lot of Cancer friends. I have Cancer rising and moon myself, and it's been quite the ride for us Cancers. So I wish you all the best, and I'll see you in another video. So Leo, you've had Pluto moving through your house of health and everyday contributions, your everyday work, your everyday life. And that will have pulled up quite a lot of change around how you show up for yourself in terms of your health and taking care of your health. How you work. You may have learned the hard way that you work too much, or that you have too much on your plate, and it was a good lesson in how to restrict that, or how to transform the work that you're doing, or the work that you're doing may have become transformational. You may have really dug into a healing occupation in some form or another, where you're working deeply with healing, and whether that be the obvious ones of sort of medical types of healing, or whether that be more psychological healing, or whether that might be healing through the way that you do your job, any job. You could be a cashier and be a real source of healing and nurturance for other people. Pluto is also has shown you how to take responsibility for crises when they arrive, when they happen in your life. The sixth house is the house of obstacles and difficulties and contracts and open enemies, people that you know are problematic. It's colleagues, potentially employees as well. So all of those things will have been in your experience of growth with Pluto over the last many years. Now we have Saturn in the eighth house, ruling Pluto for these last few months that it's in Capricorn. And Saturn in the eighth house is really getting you clear about taking responsibility for your own finances, recognizing where you need to rely less on other people, where your growth at this time is to be more independent, whether that be emotionally independent, or whether that be financially independent. And that's extremely good preparation for Pluto moving into your seventh house. That is going to be a game changer in terms of relationships. So Saturn in the eighth can also rearrange the deck chairs with your marriage, for example. If you are in a partnership of business or intimacy, or any of those really important partnerships, Saturn is going to clarify that and clear them out. And so Pluto will come in and then wipe the floor with anybody who doesn't belong in your life in the seventh house. And so, and possibly wipe the floor with you. So be conscious of who you keep in your life, be conscious of how you engage with people in your life. And so Pluto going through the sixth will have already shown you where you can't really mess around. You can't do anything you feel and get away with it when Pluto is in the sixth house. And that includes with your own health, for example. So good luck with that, Leo, and I'll see you in the next video. So for our Virgo friends, you've got Pluto in the fifth house. That has transformed your capacity to enjoy life. That might be about how you create, how you explore creatively. That might be sexual discoveries and sexual partners that you've learned from over these last many years. So since 2008, anyone with Mercury rising, Sun or Moon or a stellium in Mercury will have had an enormous amount of work around What makes you happy, the difference between obligation and pleasure, and can I learn to have pleasure in life and not feel guilty about it, because that's a big thing for Virgo. And so with Pluto going through the fifth, you may have also transformed your ideas around having children. Or your children, if you have them, will have transformed immensely, and your relationship with them will have transformed as well. So, for example, you might have decided that at one point you didn't want children, then you did, and then you, working with Pluto there, you've transformed the ideas and notions that you had around children. The opposite can be true too, that at a certain point you thought, I don't want children, actually. I thought I always did, and actually I don't. I'm really happy without them. And children themselves may have been a source of transformation for you through potential hurdles, difficulties, real potential loss around children of all kinds of different stripes. Pluto in Capricorn in the fifth can bring also a seriousness about hobbies that you do, or sports that you do, or anything that you do for pleasure or for even competition. And Capricorn is quite competitive. And so Pluto may have turned you into somebody who's quite competent in a given art or skill or sport, or some kind of hobby that actually has you really working deeply with it now. And it's not too late. You can still jump in and really work with that energy for the next few months. And then, so Pluto is also about your own self-expression in the fifth house. When you have Pluto in the fifth, there's almost like a compulsive desire to be heard, to be noticed, to be paid attention to. And you may not have known 15 years ago how to deal with that. And now you've understood how to be heard, how to become visible, how to show yourself, and in a way that doesn't have to be needy, ideally, in a way that can bring you closer to another person, rather than having people feel like they're under some kind of obligation to pay attention to you. Saturn in the seventh is showing you also the people that you want to walk this path with. Saturn is showing you how your relationships will pan out, how you show up in terms of being responsible in relationships, or potentially overly responsible in relationships. So this is a really good opportunity for Virgos to stop picking up strays, stop wasting time with people who really don't merit that, separating the needy from the greedy, as the saying goes, and recognizing that now you have, you're upping your caliber in terms of relationships. You have high quality expectations, and the people that are around you right now may change. And that can also change, because when Pluto goes into the sixth house, it's going to transform your everyday life as well. So we'll talk about that. You can look at my Pluto video to find out more about that, but we'll talk about that as things evolve. So good luck with that, Virgo. I'll see you in the next video. Libra, you're one of the cardinal signs, and you've had Pluto going through your fourth house. So this is deep. This is family. This is your ancestral connections. It's your lineage. It can be your land, your country. It can be issues of psychological nature or emotional nature. It's excavating the things that are rooted in you through childhood or through your family experience. The fourth house is property as well, like physical property, your home, and it can also represent vehicles as well, big things that you own. And so that will have changed as well. Maybe your relationship to ownership, your relationship to material things may have changed. And Pluto will have changed your sense of what is important to have security. When Pluto is in the fourth house, it's difficult to feel security, and that's especially so when it's natal. And then by transit, it depends a little bit on your own chart, how you relate to that. But Pluto going through the fourth can feel very, very insecure. It can feel like there's nothing that you can rely on. And what the message is from Pluto in the fourth is you have to rely on yourself. You have to go deep inside and rely from the inside out on what you need to feel secure, what you need to feel stable. And so here you are now. Look back at how you've grown in terms of relying on yourself, in terms of understanding yourself, in terms of understanding your family, Perhaps there have been losses in family. There may have been changes in terms of the family dynamics that have forced you to grow and become a very different person as a result. And that ultimately leads to your finding more strength and courage through the resilience that you develop there with Pluto in the fourth. We've got Saturn in the sixth currently, that is supporting that Pluto, is ruling that Pluto. And Saturn in the sixth is suggesting that it's time to be serious about your health, whether that be physical, mental, emotional. Saturn is also asking you to take more responsibility for this moment in time around work, potentially also around family members that need you, and that it might be because they themselves are ill. And so you might be finding that part of your transformation with Pluto through the fourth house is having to care for other people at this time, caring for family members or caring for people that you care deeply for, but in a way that's very practical for them, very healing for them. Saturn is also changing your relationship with people you work with or that work for you, employees, for example, or colleagues. And it's anything to do with obstacles. And so the resilience and the instability and all of the challenges that you may have had to overcome in the fourth will help you with anything that Saturn is challenging you with in the sixth house, which can be challenging in and of itself. So hang in there, Libra. These are not easy times. It's a challenging moment in time, and it is just a moment in time. It's a few months that you have to linger over this issue, look back, and give yourself a really big pat on the back for all that you've done. Scorpio, you've got Pluto in the third house. This is the house of siblings, cousins, friends, day-to-day acquaintances, people that you connect with in an everyday way, exchanges of all kinds. When Pluto is in the third house, you become incredibly impactful in the way that you speak, in the way that you think. Your voice takes on a certain gravitas. The expression becomes more serious. You become deeply, deeply concerned with the truth, deeply trying to understand and get to the root of issues, trying to really understand what is going on in the world, for example, or what is going on in your life. And that will have an impact on how you think and how you communicate. And so that has become extremely powerful for you. If you are engaged in any way with commerce, some kind of business type work, or communications work, or anything that has to do with internet, like all of us, but especially so, then Pluto will have helped you also become more profound in that area, more deep, and overcome potentially even something like a fear of public speaking. And so this is also supported by Saturn in the fifth house, where Saturn is about getting serious about something that you enjoy. Now, Pluto is in the third house, which is also about goals and setting goals and becoming ambitious in terms of goals and in terms of skills. You may have had to develop that too. And Saturn in the fifth is sharing a similar kind of energy. The fifth house is competition and goals, and in a similar way to the third house, but it's where you manifest that, where you act it out. And so with Saturn there in the fifth house, you're going to be expressing your creativity in a new way, in a different way, maybe more seriously applying yourself to something that you're good at, whether that be a musical skill or a hobby or something that you've been doing up until now just for yourself, and then you turn that into something that becomes much more serious for you and long lasting. And this time, as you come up to these last few months of Pluto in your third house, is a great preparation, because the third house is also the mind, and it's a great preparation for checking the way that you speak, the way that you think, the way that you talk about things, being careful about how you use language. What do you say about things? Are you using words like, oh, things were horrible, it was all awful, and nothing was working out, or this is all catastrophic? Do you use extreme language like that that can actually be very undermining, because you want to pull that back, you want to rein it in and remember not to believe everything that you think. because when Pluto moves into the fourth house, you're going to have, as a consequence, have a sense of how you're feeling. Can you feel happy? What makes you happy? Do you feel secure? And so that requires a certain strength of mind, and Pluto can bring you that strength of mind. So take it seriously. Use Saturn in the fifth to recognize how it is that you express yourself, and be a bit serious about that. Take it seriously, because that will really help you with Pluto going through the bottom of your chart when it moves into Aquarius. So good luck with that, Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So we have now for Sagittarius, Sun and Moon and Ascendant sign and stellium, if you have one. You have Pluto, it's just been in your second house. This has changed you in terms of your relationship to your own self-worth and to your values, what makes you tick in a way, what makes you get out of bed, your ikigai, the thing that feels like a motivation for life. This also reflects in money. So how you feel your own worth, your own value is reflected in how you value money and stuff and things. And the second house is also family. It's everything that supports you. And so Pluto going through that part of your chart has completely transformed how you feel supported in life, how you feel supported in terms of your finances. You may have had an opportunity to become quite wealthy. Pluto in the second, depending on your natal chart, can actually bring really powerful wealth. Or it can bring a real powerful relationship to money that is much more conscious than it was before. That's not a guarantee. That's just one of the options. Keep that in mind. And so Pluto in the second, of course, can also reflect your relationships with family, how you might be supported by your family, or how you might become a support for your family. There may have been many iterations around family in the last 15 or 16 years for you. And that can come particularly from the family of origin, but also the family that you have. What support do you get from these people in your family? And just recognizing where that has changed for you over the last 15 or 16 years. And then with Saturn in the fourth house, that's also connected to family and home. It's very much about what makes you feel secure, what makes you feel stable, what makes you feel happy, what you need for all of that. Your spiritual life is a very big part of that story, and freedom is another very big part of that story. Now, Saturn is moving in there, and Saturn is not usually all about freedom, but it does provide some really healthy boundaries about these things where you can start to get serious about it. Serious in the sense of recognizing what it is that you need there. And you might start to be more serious around your family, or your family might require you at this time to take on more responsibility as well. But that Saturn in the fourth house is also quite a grow up moment, because the fourth house is very pivotal. It's very important for the native, because it's the foundation of your life. And so Saturn is setting something up really for the next many years, the next 15 years, where Saturn will show you the results of the effort that you're undertaking now in your career when it moves into the 10th house in about 15 years. So that's most of the time that Pluto will be in your third house, of how you speak up and how you use language and how you are connecting with people through the way you think, and how it is that you're communicating things, and your community as well. So all of these things should be uppermost on your mind the next few months, where you recognize that now it's time to really plan seriously for your own well-being, for the well-being of your family, and also for your finances. So good luck with all that, Sagittarius. I'll see you in the next video. Capricorn, you've heard this so many times. This is all about you. And of course, you have transformed immensely if you've got sun, moon, or rising, or a stellium of personal planets, not outer planets, in Capricorn. And so this is something that will have changed your life. It will have rocked your socks off for the past 15 years. So basically, since the end of 2007, beginning of 2008, you changed. You had no choice. It was all systems go, and that may have made you a very powerful person. It may have you may have bumped up against some less pleasant aspects of yourself. You may have discovered things about yourself that you wished that you didn't know. or that you wish that other people didn't know, more importantly. You may have become somebody who became quite an authority, quite a leader, quite a reference in your community, because you will have gone through, with your usual capacity and resilient ways, you will have gone through hell and high water. So there's no doubt that you are a very different person at this moment, and you have a few months now where you can really reflect back on yourself. How did you show up in your life before Pluto entered the first house? How did you show up in relationships? How did you work with people in relationships? Have you been have you found balance in relationships? If not, this is a good time to really explore why. And it's no time like the present to rectify the aim, as it were. Because now when Pluto moves into your second house, it's going to change your sense of self-worth and your values and how you relate to money potentially as well, your income and the money that you earn and the resources that you have. And that the more that you can appreciate yourself and the more that you can find that inner strength and that sense of self-love and compassion that it's not easy for Capricorn to find, the more you're going to be able to expand into the Pluto in the second house. You have a role often in society, Capricorn, of a beneficiary, of not a beneficiary, that's not a benefactor. That's the word I'm looking for, benefactor. You look out for people, whether that be financially or morally or administratively. You care for other people in an enormous way. And it can be coming from a place of feeling duty bound, feeling obliged. And so this is a good time to reflect on how you may have given too much of yourself away, or given too much of your power away, or too much of your money away, whatever the thing was, and recognize where it is that you'd like to change that. Now, Saturn is in your third house. That third house is about communication. It's about getting serious and establishing something more lasting and more durable in the third house of community, communication, exchanges of all kinds. This can be around siblings, around cousins, around friends, day-to-day friends, and the people you say hi to every day. And the third house is about travel as well. So that can also be something to do with how you get yourself, how you move around. There may be a feeling like you've done enough now, you're ready to kind of slow it down, not travel so much, or travel with a purpose, travel in a way that feels more certain, more serious, or more purposeful, rather than just sort of lounging around and on a beach, for example. The third house is also your goals. And so now there's a sense of getting more serious about your goals. And this is something that you want, before you're really pressed by Saturn, to solidify and concretize your goals and your sense of what you're driven by right now. It's a good idea to reflect on how you've grown, what areas you're still working on, and how you have allowed other people to show up for you in these last 15 years. So Capricorn, hats off, you did it. You're nearly there. You're nearly, for the people who have the late degree Capricorn, you still have just that little bump in the road between September and late November. But honest to God, you've done a great job if you've come this far. So well done. And I'll see you in the next video. So Aquarius, you know the drill. You've already had Pluto move into your sign, but really the last 15 years has been Pluto kind of on your neck. It's been Pluto sort of breathing down your neck since 2008, digging up things that you may have realized about yourself in terms of your own behavior, or the people that you invite into your life, that may have brought a lot of awareness or realizations around how you may not be using your power in a helpful way or a useful way to yourself. That can be even through loss, in terms of people that you cared for, that can have been lost through just moving away, physically moving away long distance, or transformation through physical loss. People may have passed on that really mattered for you, and there's a sense that has left a real mark on you, that you were transformed by these people or by this loss. This can also have you engaging with ancestors and people from the other side, as it were, people who have passed or people you may never have known, but who are almost like spirit guides. And this can be something that is incredibly powerful. That depends on your chart and your openness or interest in working in that way. But Pluto going through the 12th can also show where there have been potential family traumas or issues that may have provoked addictions, that may have provoked issues that have been really hard to grapple with. Pluto has demanded a lot of courage, a lot of fearlessness around these things, and the capacity to overcome. And so by the time Pluto moves into your first house, you will have an enormous reservoir to draw on that is spiritual, that is about connections, potentially otherworldly connections, or it can be connections from ancestors that are a source of support for you. Saturn is in the second house, and so there's a seriousness at the moment about your stuff, your whatever supports you, whether that be financially or the material things that you own, the way that you earn money, the family network that might be a support for you or not. And so these are things that you're going to be grappling with in these last few months. And then when Pluto moves into the first house, it's going to compel you to show up very differently in your life. And it might be based on these things that you're recognizing are not really supporting you in a way that works for you. Keeping in mind Saturn is your ruler. And so very important that it's there in the second house. And Saturn in the second house can make you quite serious about investing. It can, depending on your chart again, and depending on the stage of life that you're in, it can potentially withhold or restrict some kind of income or money that might be otherwise coming your way. But it can be also for good reason that you, for example, decide to purchase something and it requires more work or a loan or some other engagement because you've decided to invest long term. And so that restriction is actually serving a longer term purpose. So it's a good time for you to reflect on how you've grown from the inside. In many ways, people will not have noticed a lot of the growth that you've gone through because it's hidden, hidden even from yourself. You may not even realize that until you go back and you'll be like, oh my God, yeah, I forgot. I lived through that. I went through that. I did that thing. I survived. Here I am. So again, congratulate yourself. Pluto in the 12th is not easy. It's a badge of honor now that it's moving into your first house, and a well-deserved one, no doubt. So good luck with all of that, Aquarius, and I'll see you in the next video. Pisces, you have Pluto in the 11th house, and it's been there since the beginning of 2008. So whether you're sun, moon, or ascendant, or if you have a stellium in Pisces, this will apply. And you have completely transformed your goals, your life goals. You've transformed your vision for life. What you thought life should look like at the beginning of 2008 looks nothing like this, and you're actually quite happy with it, although there may be a few little regrets there, here and there. It has also completely transformed your friendships and the people that you spend time with. Now you're a lot more selective. You're more serious about your friendships. You have people in your life who may have tested you in terms of friendships, may have tested your generosity or your patience. And here you're in a situation where you are in the last laps, as it were, of trying to figure out who is an important friend to me, who has been a good influence on me, who's not been a good influence on me, and who will I be leaving behind. Now, Pluto is moving into your 12th house very soon. And so that's going to be a deep cleansing of your psyche, of your connection to potentially your ancestors or your lineage, and anything that comes from instability around that, or potential issues that are unconscious. They're all going to be there. So you want the people in your life to be solid. So Pluto wants you to have a very solid concept for your life vision, for the people in your life, for the people who can bring you to a better place, who are uplifting and not tearing you down, not trying to abuse you or have power over you. This is extremely important. Now, Saturn is helping with this in a really profound way, because Saturn moving through your first house, which is the ruler of that Pluto, in both the 11th and the 12th houses, is actually going to help you immensely get serious about yourself, become more mature, become more self-reliant, become more adult, depending on the age you're at. But we can always benefit from just being a wee bit more adult about things. But it's most especially about being strict about what you need, and recognizing that you have to take care of yourself, that you will have to look after your own needs. Pisces is often very, very bad about boundaries and taking care of other people. And Saturn in Pisces is saying, no, you really do need to sort this out. So if you have health issues, or if you have any other issues that you need to deal with, you will want to be using this moment in time, especially now as Pluto is preparing to move out of the 11th and into the 12th. Prepare yourself for psychologically, emotionally, prepare your network. You might feel that there's a great desire to retreat and to withdraw a little bit from life, and that would be fine depending on how you live your life. But it is not. It should not be considered the solution to problems, and it certainly should not be considered a way of avoiding things or escaping from things. So this is something you want to really be clear of. Who's around me? Are they a good influence on me? What are my goals? How do I envisage my life long term? And that also, by the way, the 11th house is also a money house. And so it's the money you earn from whatever it is that you do. And so Pluto will definitely have transformed that for you as well. Since 2008, it has made you much more powerful for earner based on what you do. So good luck with that, Pisces. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you in the next video.